Hey, Front Row Promotions, how are you doing tonight? Welcome to the show. Tonight we have a wonderful guest. We have two wonderful guests, and they are from Images of Eden. And we have Gordon and Jeff. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, thanks so much for having us. Appreciate it.
A
You're
pleasure. Thank
welcome.
you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Something's going on with my Facebook here, but we will fix that in just a brief moment. Let me just get over to the comments and see. Here we go. All right. And first comment of the night is Rebel Heart Entertainment. Hey, Teresa.
Doing great, and great to hear from you, Teresa, as always.
Teresa, hugs. Wonderful to have you.
So welcome again to Front Row Promotions. I'm so glad we finally get to meet each other. Hopefully, again, we'll meet each other out of the show soon one day, and I cannot wait for that all to happen
Absolutely,
together.
yeah.
So I always like to know the name of the band and where it came from and who created it and what it all means.
Yeah, and I told you this before you hit the button. I can get long-winded, so tell me to
That's
put a
okay.
stop in it if I get too bad. So just um, back in 1998, I was in a band. I was I was looking to finally get out there because I'd gone through a lot of junk, and
Mhm.
I joined a band, and it didn't work out, and it didn't end well. And a friend of mine said, "Listen, you play the instruments, you vocals, you write all all your own stuff. Do your own album. I'll play drums for you on the first album. Get yourself out there, use it to form the band." That was actually Steve Kilgallen, who was the session drummer for the first Images of Eden album. So I said, "Okay, great." And one thing that I did, when I was growing up, I started on guitar. I was a guitarist before I was anything. Then I learned bass. Then my high school band couldn't find a singer, so I said, "Let me see if I have any kind of voice." And I started off kind of sounding like a circular saw cutting against a blackboard. It was brutal, but I did work on it, and it got better. And then I had working knowledge of drums, so I kind of moved around all the different instruments. That was the best thing I've ever done
That's
because
a
when it
good
came
thing to
time,
know all the
yeah,
instruments. Yes. Hmm.
it absolutely was. So when it came down to, actually needing to do that, it was perfect. So a friend of mine said, "I'll go in the studio with you. You've got a vision. And I knew I wanted to do something that was undiluted. It was a specific sound, a specific vision, a specific lyrical content that I had. And so we went in the studio. He laid down the drums, and I spent about a year and a half after that piecing it together, paying studio time. I laid down the guitar, laid down everything else, and I was ready to go. And I had a title for the album. The album was called Images of Eden, but I didn't have a band name. And the reason I called it Images of Eden was because I had just survived a nasty addiction, barely. And everything changed when I kicked that. And I
Hmm.
mean, literally everything changed. Life made a complete 180. I met my wife, got a better job. Next thing you know, we bought a house. So, I mean, everything was going really, really well.
Good.
And what she said, because basically each song on the first Images album was either a struggle that I went through and or a blessing that came from that struggle.
Oh, okay.
And
Like a
so
lesson or a blessing. Hmm.
yeah, or yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So I mean, I think, but the thing is, it was really kind of written in a way that everyone can understand, regardless, because we're all going through something,
that's
or
right.
we've gone through something, and we
Hmm.
all share the same emotions. So I don't write specifically about the event that happened, but it was like the strength, the emotion, everything that it brought forward. So the reason I wanted to call the album Images of Eden is because Garden of Eden is sort of a perfect world, essentially, and that was sort of a new perfect world. All these songs, it was just all these elements of that. And my
Hmm.
wife was like, that should be the band name. That, I mean, because it just fits. And that was it. So yeah,
I love
again,
it.
long-winded.
That's fine. You can talk as long as you want because this is all about you guys.
All good. Well, cool.
Hmm.
So yeah,
So
that's how we came up with it. Yep.
how long has Images of Eden been together?
We The first album was finished, and I didn't really know anything about releasing an album back then. As soon as it was finished, it was available, which
Hmm.
was March 5th, 2001. And the goal with that album was to recruit musicians who were on the same page. See, the first thing I thought was I could try to form a band, but then you form a band, people aren't on the same page. This way, if I've got the album done, I've got the product, I've got the sound. If you like what you hear, let's talk. If you don't, then maybe it's not for you. And that's kind of, where I was. And we actually got the first lineup together in 2001, and we started gigging out around November 2001. The first incarnation of the lineup. It's gone through a pretty good amount of changes over the years. And Jeff, you'll understand why. I mean, you've got people who thought they could play and they couldn't. They weren't very good. You've got addicts or drunks that just weren't reliable. You've got people that just couldn't show up. You got yokos. You've got egos, and you know how it goes, man. I know you've probably dealt with a lot of that too. So that's kind of reasons why. But yeah, I'd say the first lineup was 2001. Played regionally around Baltimore, in the surrounding areas. So
Right.
yeah.
So Jeffrey, tell us about your entrance to Images of Eden. How did that come about?
Sure. So I've had the pleasure of knowing Gordon for a few years, and we met through mutual musician friends. So I was doing a gig up in Pennsylvania. I'm from down near Annapolis, sort of between Annapolis and Baltimore. Gordon's from up in Pennsylvania, and a band that I've been working with for many, many years, Dying Breed. Of course, I played with them from 2017 to about 2019. And absolutely dear friends of mine to this day. And so we were playing a couple of gigs up in South Central Pennsylvania. I'm not sure how the state is divided. And so we were up there, and Gordon knew some of the members in the band. That was my opportunity to really meet him, get him to know him a little bit. And he came up and did some songs with us. And I'm like, oh, wow, this guy's good. And we did not only a couple songs, but we did a couple of my favorite songs. If we're going to play songs on stage together, doing stuff that you really love. And so right after that, although I will admit that sometime around 2005-ish, maybe, I think I told Gordon this, I did this really huge catalog activity where I went down that MD Party. Remember that website everybody used to go to find out about bands?
Yeah,
I remember all
that.
that.
That was really cool. Yeah.
I visited every single link on that page, and I just wanted to see who was out and around there, because I had my own band at the time. We were writing music, and I wanted to see who was out there to play with. I'm a collaborative, not really a competitive musician. So I was looking for who was out there. What are the genres? What are people doing? And I came across Images of Eden at that time, and I visited the website, and I put that in my back pocket and said, it's pretty good stuff. And maybe 10 years later, I have a fairly good memory, so it immediately dawned on me that this was the act. This was the same band that I had seen on that website all those years ago. So,
oh, sweet, yes.
Yeah, and as I've gotten into so many of the different themes of the albums, it's just been a joy to work with this really rich catalog and set of creative folks who are amazing.
Sweet. Awesome. I'm so glad that you guys have mended together. And when's the tour? When you coming out? Where are you playing? I gotta see you live.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. Right now we're in this putting the pieces together stage. We're working on a single, a brand new single. It's going to be a cover tune. We're not going to really say what it is yet, because I don't want to announce something, get hollered at later,
That's true. You gotta be sure. Yeah.
But we are working on that. But in the meantime, right when we get done the single, we're diving into the 7th album, which is almost written. Now, in the meantime, we'll always be keeping our ear to the ground. Steve Dorsum, who's our drummer, who couldn't make it tonight, he does all the legwork. Without him, we'd be on the couch. He's the one that's gotten us our tours. He's the one that's gotten us high profile shows with national acts. He's the guy that makes things happen. And that's just, Steve Dorsum, drummer, makes things happen. That's on his credit. So he he's always putting his ear to the ground, and I know he's got a couple people that he's working with to try to get a couple things to happen. So we have a couple of irons in the fire for this year. So we're just going to see what kind of pans out. And now that I'm going to skip ahead, see what pans out, because it's definitely going to be a busy year. We've got a single, we've got an album to record, and we're going to, if something good happens, we'll pause the album, prep for the gig or gigs, hit them, unpause the album afterwards. So yeah, that's kind of the plan. Now, the cool thing is, a weird thing, we have been split up geographically for a very long time. Two of our members are local. I'm here to South Central Pennsylvania. Dean Harris on keyboards is in Baltimore. Eric Mulvane, bass player, is in Michigan. Steve Dorsum is in Phoenix.
Wow.
Our previous guitar player was actually,
goodness.
our previous guitar player actually lived in Mexico. But now that three of us, Jeff's in Annapolis, so we've got Annapolis, Bel Air, and York, Pennsylvania. I mean, we're Dean's in the middle. We could probably meet at Dean. So yeah, we could just kind of, so the chances of us playing locally around here have just kind of gone up a little bit, which I'm really happy about, because a lot of people locally in the local scene have said, "Hey, when's Images of Eden coming?" Teresa actually hit me up yesterday or today, and I was like, I wish I knew, But now that three of us are local, we're definitely going to have a better chance. We might even just get something together and make something happen regionally for like a few shows. Get
That
Eric
would be
and
really
Steve
cool.
out here and just do it. I mean, now that we've got enough, all three of us are out here and we have enough resources, I don't see why we can't make that happen.
Absolutely. There's no show like a live one. I mean,
Oh yeah.
especially the best way to see a show is what? Where? Front row. So,
Yeah,
everything, with the
and-
big, like the Def Leppard and everybody else, they want to charge like buku bucks. So I'm happy with seeing you guys. I'm happy to stay local. Hey, that makes me happy.
you got it.
Touches my heart.
Right there with you.
So I cannot wait to hear you live. I cannot wait to travel where you go. Now, would you make it up to Canada?
We would love to. We haven't been to Canada. We definitely have people up there that want us up there.
Yeah.
So I love Canada. If I might not come back if we get paired. Actually, Trudeau's running that. Yeah, I will come back. No, but I love Ontario. I've been to Ontario several times. Toronto. I tell you, everything about Canada is amazing. They're the nicest people in the world, and that's not that's a fact. If you spent any time there and you know any of them locally, or if you've met any of them, that's exactly the case. And so yeah, I would love to get to Toronto, and I would love to just maybe have a couple shows up there and just spend some time up there.
That's true. Spend a whole 2 weeks and and have a couple shows everywhere.
Oh, love it.
Have you ever seen the Niagara Falls?
I was a kid. I think I was probably in fourth grade. My family took a trip there. Got the rain jackets on, went into the Maid of the Mist right in the middle of the falls.
Oh, you went down in there?
Yep.
Oh, wow. Oh.
But yeah, but then they had a bridge where, I was a kid, so, they don't have the whole insane border security back then. They had a bridge you could walk over, and they had a line right in the middle where they had the U.S.-Canadian line. And I remember my mom and I were walking over it, and we said, "Oh, look, we're half in Canada, half in the U.S. here. Pretty cool." So just good memory.
Actually, when I went there, we were supposed to just go see it on the U.S. side, and they were having road work. It was so funny. And then he just kept guiding us to keep going and getting over. Before you know it, we were in Canada, and then we had, oh my God. So we had to prove who we were. We didn't have passports. It was like, oh my God, what do we do? Oh. So we just went ahead, and it was beautiful on the Canada side. I mean, I'm sure it was beautiful on the US side as well, but on the Canada side, you've seen a whole lot more, and you were able to move around to see everything. And I just love how they do the lighting at night and everything. It was really pretty.
That was cool.
I got thousands of pictures on disc somewhere. But of course, where's that disc?
On disc. Oh, yes. Early 2000s.
It was in 2000 something. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, where's it at? But it's okay. I had a nice experience and it was beautiful. How about you, Jeffrey? Did you see it?
I have never been to Canada. I have. I'm going to be honest. I've never traveled north of New York, and I've been south and southwest. For whatever reason, it's going to be like a major thing here. I've got to get up to New England, up to Canada, and get through that area. It just
Yeah.
hasn't occurred. So, yeah, I think it is time to gig Canada.
Yeah, I think Mel would love that. Your family, your wife, they would love that. Yes, absolutely. You know, that's what we ought to do. We ought to plan. And all go up together and watch
Yeah.
it. Go up and you guys
Weirder,
get some
weirder
gigs.
things have happened. Yes.
Well, and then Candy's up there, and we can go see her, and voila, there you go.
Is Candy
She'll
in
cook for you.
Toronto? Is she Toronto?
I believe it's Toronto. Yeah,
Okay.
Oshawa, Toronto,
That's cool.
something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Well, then we definitely have to make it happen.
yes,
We all got
and she'll-
passports. I mean, we just got back from
Absolutely.
Mexico, so
See,
Yeah,
and she'll
we're
cook
ready.
for you. She's a good cook. I haven't had her cooking yet, but sometimes she used to post it on, sending me pictures of it, and you know she'll cook for you. Absolutely.
gotta love it. Yeah.
So tell us about the writing styles.
The style.
Like this, do you all write, or is it collaborative of the whole band, or is
it's
it
a
just
very we have a very unusual situation. This is where I could really start. You know, grab a beverage and put your feet up.
there you go. Well, I'll be back. We'll
like
go
I
get a Pepsi. No.
like I said, I kind of survived the situation back in the late '90s, and everything just sort of changed after that time. And I mean, when you're 24 hours away from death, the doctor's words, not mine. I was detoxing in alcohol, and I was just tremoring. And I
Oh
went
my
in with a blood pressure of 213 over 186, and they said at any second I could have gone, any second.
Oh,
And they were
no.
surprised I hadn't. And you know, at the time, you know, I got my cross up here. I have a very strong faith, and I didn't quite at the time. I believed, but I didn't. Yeah, but I believed, but I didn't. You know, it wasn't super strong. Something happened when they admitted me to the hospital, and I can't even put it into words. It was divine intervention. I was laying there feeling like I was going to die. I've just gone through 7 years of just self-inflicted torture
Oh.
and just darkness.
Mhm.
And it's like I can't even describe it other than I felt this. It was almost just like this ethereal hug, and like every ounce of negativity was blocked out. And the words I heard in my head, it was like, imagine getting a mental I am in all caps that said, I'm taking this addiction from you, and you will never have to deal with it again.
Oh
You
my
will never
God.
have to lie again, and you will never have to cover anything up again.
Oh
And
wow.
I knew who that was. They kept me in the hospital for 2 days while they wrung me out, so to speak.
Yeah.
I walked out of there. I never looked back, never touched another drink, ever.
Oh.
So when he said he took that addiction away from me, I said, I knew who it was,
Yeah.
because I tried quitting on my own and I never could. When the man himself intervenes and says, I've got plans for you, I'm taking this addiction away, he was right. I can be around it. I could sit there at a keg party and just, hey, here you go. I mean, I could do that all night. I'll drink, my seltzer water, or,
Yeah.
St. Pauli Girl NA or something like
There
that.
you go. Absolutely.
So yeah, it doesn't bother me at all. I mean, especially if you're doing music and you refuse to be around alcohol, you might as well quit.
Right.
It's just part of what it is. So
Yeah,
thankfully that happened that way. Now, I had to tell you that story to tell you this.
That's fine.
I was really inspired to just bring a really uplifting message of survival to the world.
Absolutely.
That I'm living proof that you can be 24 hours away from death and then now live your best life. Because if I look at October 26, 1997, which is that date, and I look at now, what's happened in between those dates? I formed a band. We've got a band that got signed. We are a recognized international touring signed band. That does not happen. You know, it's not a fluke, and it's hard to do. I'm exactly where I wanted to be in life. God's brought me everything I've wanted,
Oh,
and I'm telling the story of survival. I'm telling the story of strength. I'm telling, and it goes out to, and people say, "Are you a Christian band?" I say, yeah, we're believers, but the secular audience is our target audience because we're telling non-believers, hey, you know what? I'm there with you. I didn't believe. I had the HIPAA Christians come at me, or where are you with Jesus? If not, you're going to hell. I've had that. I've
oh
had
wow.
all this stuff. I mean, those people sent me the opposite direction. And what happens when you go in the opposite direction? Drugs, alcohol, whatever it means to you. And
Yes.
so that just sent me further and further away into a dark place. But I survived it. But what I'm telling people is I'm not shoving it down their throat. I'm saying, look, I understand. I understand running from them. I
Yes.
understand addiction. I understand being at a low point. We've had members in this band who have had their own issues, PTSD, abuse. I mean, there's a little bit of that, that had uh, loss, massive loss. We're all dealing with something. And what
Right.
we're trying to say is everything, you're going to get through it. Whatever you're going through, you will get through it. If you watch our videos, you'll notice that we tackle addiction, we tackle mental illness, we tackle loss, wanting to know if your loved one is in a good place and getting confirmation. We
Mhm.
tackled forgiveness and asking for forgiveness for everything we've done wrong. Basically everything that we all go through.
Yeah.
Now, the bottom line was it just started out with a very, very specific vision. And then with each album, it's like everything just comes to me and hits me. Lyrics, album flow, um, the songwriting. But what I'll do is I will craft demos of the shell of the song and then bring everybody in. That's
Okay.
okay. Okay, well, let's extend this part. Let's do this. Let's edit this. Let's tail this out like this. Then everybody puts their parts on it and they do their own thing, and everybody has the freedom to do everything they want to do. And but basically, I'm going to give you the skeleton, and then everybody's going to throw the meat on it.
I
And
got you.
and and
I like that. That's pretty cool. I like that
and it's
analogy.
really cool because when I started doing it this way, the skeletons were, I mean, programmed demo drums, uh, you know, rough guitar, rough vocals. Um, I would put keys in where I needed them, but when I farmed them out, we say, okay, here's send it to Steve first. Steve does the drums first. I get the real drums. Now, the only thing I do other than vocals is I do play the rhythm guitar just because when
Excuse me.
when you're writing, it's just like you're moving melody lines and moving guitar chords around. And Jeff, I know what you mean. And you'll know what I mean here. Okay, if the guitar is done, you have to kind of work around it. But I could, if I want to hit this certain melody, but I better change the guitar part here to kind of thread the needles to make it as interesting as possible. So I do the rhythm guitar and the vocals, but everybody else puts, fills in the gaps. And when you listen to a demo song versus everything else, it's phenomenal. Like I said, the demo is just a shell. It's just demo drums, scratch vocals, scratch guitars. I started going down this path. Steve will give me the drums. I'll start doing the real guitar. I'll send everything out. And the cool thing is when I send everything out, everybody's doing their individual parts and I'm doing the vocals downstairs. Like
Oh,
Dean
okay.
might be in Baltimore. He's doing his keyboard parts. Eric's in Michigan playing the bass. And, because everybody has had training, you don't have to worry about anybody stepping on anybody's toes. Everybody kind of instinctually knows what to do.
Right.
And it was really cool because when Jeff came on board, one thing I loved about his style, among many things, is his accuracy and just as clean as he plays. Um, and one thing I had generally always done in the past was I would never play the lead guitar or the solos, but if there was like slow melodies, I would generally play those. And on the song that we're doing, I didn't want to do it because I know he could slay it so much better. So I just did the chunk and just said, "Here you go, brother. You take care of everything else."
Oh, there we
And
go.
when he sent me a demo of what he did, I said, "This is exactly what I'm talking about."
Oh, that's so
So
cool.
that's sort of the writing in a nutshell. You know, I mean, it's a very specific vision and a very specific message. And if you read the lyrics specifically from the Soul Rise album on,
Hmm.
you're going to see that it's a very specific narrative. I won't get into it too much, but you'll kind of understand from a lyric perspective. It's the albums tell stories. The albums, well, if you, I might as well just say it, yeah, you'll notice that there is a conversation. Let's just
Oh,
say
okay.
from the beginning to the end. I don't say what it is, but you'll notice there's white text and red text, white text and red text, and if you read it, you're going to understand what it is. And I have felt this, and this is just the way it comes out. And I think also, a couple, several people, one who was a vocalist that was actually a vocal hero of mine that became a friend,
Mhm.
which was an amazing feat in itself, had told me, he said, I let him hear a new song, and he says, I can tell its images right when I hear it. You guys have a signature sound. And I was just thinking, wow, that's an amazing compliment. And that's something that you don't want to lose, because if you're lucky enough,
Yeah.
blessed enough to have an original sound, you need to hold on to it, and you can't let it get watered down.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But like I say, I do the skeletons, and we've got some serious musicians in this band that I've been absolutely blessed with. So that, again,
that is
my
so cool. I'm
long-windedness.
so happy for you guys. I really am.
Appreciate it. Yep.
Absolutely. Like with some of the writing the styles, like do you do the music? Sometimes do you do the music first and then put the lyrics together, or is it sometimes you put the lyrics first and then the music together, or is it like off and on?
Every album is different, and it's weird, but the one constant, which is strange, I get a list of song titles first.
Okay.
It's literally like I'll sit there, because when I start a new album, I start a brand new Word document. And then the first thing that happens is I get these lists of song titles. Strangely enough, and I don't know what they mean, but strangely enough, from that moment to the very end of the album, about 70% of those song titles are kind of intact. Might have been moved around a little bit, but sometimes I change them, sometimes I drop one and whatever.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool. It's almost like getting a weird kind of forecasted snapshot of what the album's going to be. But then what'll happen is I won't understand what the song titles mean. And then next thing I know, lyrics will hit me, and I'm like, oh, that goes to this song. I just feel it, and I just know it, and I put it there.
That's
and
cool.
Then I just kind of, as things, happen, sometimes I will get a couple of songs done to sort of see the snapshot and then start laying down music. Occasionally, with this 7th album, the entire lyrics were completely finished.
Oh, nice.
And now I'm working on the music. I can honestly say this is I have the highest hopes for this album of anything. But it's kind of like this, when you start working on it, it's like dumping out a 3,000 piece jigsaw puzzle, and you don't look at the box.
Oh, shoot. Yeah.
You just start putting pieces together, and then the more you start putting pieces together, you start to see what the picture becomes. And that's kind of what it is with lyrics. The more lyrics I was putting together, because you start to see a flow, you start to see a story. Every album is its own entity, has its own sound, and is about its own thing. Okay. And so by putting these pieces together, you start to see. And once you start to see the picture, then you kind of know what needs to go on it musically, and you know what needs to fit musically. You just sort of feel it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Actually, we got a question for Teresa. What is your favorite IOE song as of now? Wow. I don't. In Memory of Me off of Angel Born. Yeah.
Yeah. The one I like is Jeffrey. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No. You go ahead. You can.
I was just going to say, before I answer on Gordon's last point, I am completely surprised when I think, why are more musicians not thinking the way that Gordon just spoke? I have played with an awful lot of musicians over the years, and that huge creative element, that push inside to filter in all the stuff that comes in, because musicians are by and large passionate folks. And then to not want to tap that creative vein, but it's to be in a group of people that do tap that vein is amazing. The second thing I'll say is my favorite song personally, entirely based on listening while I'm driving, is Killing God. So, and the reason I like it, and so many of the IOE songs that I really dig are songs that I feel like they almost like shift down and then push the pedal. It's like there's a part where the song like has like a kick, like an overdrive to it.
Okay.
Those are the ones that get me most. And so, yes, I am particularly looking forward to performing that one.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome, Jeff. Yeah, Killing God, great title, huh? The metaphoric, of course, but I'm going to piggyback on a thought that on something you just said too. When the writing comes out, and especially the delivery, during the writing part, I mean, there have been so many times, specifically during the Soul Rise and forward, of where I'm in the middle of writing something and I'll just get chills and I'll start to get teary-eyed, and sometimes I have to sit my guitar down and walk it off because I'm a mess.
Wow.
And if that happens during the writing and or vocals, because there have been plenty of times I'm in my vocal booth. When I track vocals, I keep a box of Kleenex in my vocal booth because I know I'm going to be a mess at some point in time.
It's going to happen.
It's just the way it is. And the thing is, I know that I'm thinking, if I'm having this reaction just because of the writing and digging so deep and bringing out these things that just evoke such emotion, I'm only hoping that it translates that way to the listener. And I think it does. And I've gotten a couple, we've had some fans that give us really, really good testimonials about how we've lifted them out of dark times. And that right there is everything I could have asked for. But yeah, I think
absolutely.
Yeah. And but I mean, there have been times I've just been an absolute mess. I've been on the ground one time, just and it was a song called "All Is Now Forgiven" off of Soul Rise. It's just sometimes it hits you so hard, and you're like, I mean, because I know the source is, so I just go with it. But,
right. Absolutely. Yeah. Teresa has another question for you, Jeffrey. How do you decide which guitar suits which songs for IOE?
Sure. The answer is, among my guitars, the ones that have the extra string suits the best because they've got the extra string for the low notes. I'm sorry, Lisa. No. I was just going to say that for I was answering a question in the Q&A yesterday, and one of the things that came to mind was in the live environment, the guitars are designed to be versatile. So you want them to be able to do maximum range of activities comfortably, reliably. They need to be able to be workhorses. In a recording situation, you may try a certain guitar and you may not be feeling it that hour, and you try a different one. It completely works. So maybe the one thing all my guitars have in common is, if you notice, they're all kind of green. They have like this, I seem to keep picking sort of teal colored guitars, but yeah, some of them are made of mahogany, some of them are made of basswood or made of alder. But yes, right now I'm playing an Ibanez, and I absolutely love it. So there are, depending on what mood, they've all got their different characters. It's a good question.
How many guitars do you take with you at a show or on tour?
I think 2 to 3 feels like the right number most of the time. First of all, no less than 2, because 2 is 1 and 1 is none. If you can't do less than 2. 3 is extra padding, gives you a little bit of versatility. But at the same time, now you're starting to get into troubles where you have to prepare it, and whatever environment you find yourself in, do you have time to prepare it properly? Is it, not all guitars are made equally when it comes to being in cold rooms, hot rooms. As soon as you grab them and push them up against your warm body, they start to change their tuning, so stuff like that. Yeah, 2 to 3 for, but in the recording thing, I've got like all 14, in play.
Is it how many? How many do you have all total? Do you have all 14?
14, and I almost never ever sell a guitar. So I have, basically I just make them better if I can.
That's cool. Yeah.
I still am like, I'm playing guitars, working on track recordings, like guitars I've had since I was 14, 15 years old. They're old
Nice.
friends.
Oh, that's so cool. That is so
It's
cool.
funny that you mentioned that, Jeff. My
Excuse
first
me.
real guitar was a Gibson Flying V, 1987. It was bright white, just like James Hetfield had,
I
and I
love
love
Flying
that
V.
thing. And I still have it. It is Gatorade yellow. It is chipped. It is, the neck got broken and was bolted together.
Oh
I can
shoot.
never get rid of it because it's been. I mean that thing's like a weapon that's been used in many battles.
There is my first guitar was a Gibson S1. I mean, if you can have a Gibson as your first guitar, do it. They're wonderful. I had this thing called a Gibson S1, which is a flying V neck attached to a Les Paul body with Fender Strat style electronics. Very strange bird.
Awesome.
I had a friend of mine who covered it with house paint because it made it look cool, but it kind of half ruined the guitar. The guitar fell apart. It sat in my office for 20 years
no.
doing nothing because I'm not a luthier. I'm not a guitar tech. And then I have to give a shout out to my dear friend, Pat Nicolucci, who took this Gibson S1 off my hands, took it and lovingly restored it, put all the right original stuff back in it. And it came back to me like a factory instrument. And,
Nice.
Wow.
So Pat has like unlimited coupons for like Red Lobster dinner with me. Yep.
I love that. That's so cool. Absolutely. So cool. So what do you like most about being a musician whoever wants to start?
You could start, Jeff.
Go ahead, Jeff.
The very kind of conversation that we're having now, being able to sit in a couple of chairs, either right before playing, right after playing, talking to people about playing, and to be able to sit and just kibitz about the music itself. I have friends on Facebook that I don't think I've ever met in person, and we'll have conversations about all different kinds of genres, all different kinds of styles. And I never get tired of it. It just gets deeper. The deeper I go, the deeper it gets.
Wow.
I can go back in time. I can find something current. I can think about the possibilities for a song. New ones appear out of the ether and can be worked on. This, it's multi-dimensional goodness.
I love it.
Awesome.
I love it.
What I love about being a musician has changed over the years. I wanted to play guitar when I was about 12 or 13 just because I love the sound of a guitar. I literally just wanted to be in my room, just just crank it up and just make noise. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Just because I love the sound of guitar. I had no intentions of doing anything else. And then when my parents finally, I broke them down, wore them out, and they finally got me a guitar, and they signed me up for guitar lessons. Now I said, wow, I think I actually really want to learn how to play this thing. So, okay. And then so great. I was in high school, and it really helped me in so many ways. I mean, it helps your brain. Being a musician uses both sides of your brain, not just one side or the other. Playing music does that. It helped me focus in high school and in college. It helped me focus on where I would have felt lost otherwise. It gave me an identity, and people knew who I was. Oh yeah, you're the guitar player. I know who you are, or something like that. And that's just kind of, so it kind of helped me through a little bit of a time of uncertainty, just kind of finding my identity. And then after kind of going through some dark times, it was sort of, being a musician was what subconsciously told me that I had to change, because that's what I was writing. And then, and it was just, and so now it's gone beyond that. It's just the love of writing music, the love of playing in front of a crowd, the hearing them roar. But I think, and I never would have said this 20 years ago, but I think to me, the most rewarding part about being a musician is lifting people, bringing a positive message to the world, meeting people, and everything that goes with that positive message. And it's a very spiritual thing for me, because I can feel the presence of God right in me the whole time that I'm writing, the whole time that, I'm really creating. I know He's there, and I know where my source is. And, would I have said that 20 years ago? No, I didn't know that. I had to learn. I had to go through things. I had to experience. I had to fall down. I had to fall down so that I could stand up. People say, when they talk about addicts or alcoholics, see people who enable them. They keep them out of jail. The best thing to do an alcoholic or addict is let them fall down and hit the gutter and say, okay, my next step is death. So I've got two options. I die or I get it together. And
Yeah.
there's a very real aha moment in being in that place, because there's only one way to go, and that's up. And it helps you stand up and say, you know what? I've been at the lowest of the low. I've seen it. I can handle anything. And then you're determined to get better. And you do.
Right.
So, like I said, I went from being close to death to now living my best life, and I wouldn't change anything of what's happened. I wouldn't even change the negative times, because I've seen how my negative times were shining through the music, and I saw how the music was affecting people. We had people on tour, and even just fans in general, reach out to us and say, you guys saved my life. And I was like, okay, now I want to talk to you. How does this happen? 3 people have used that phrase, and so many other people have said, you got me through a dark time or something like that. And I just, that is
amazing.
That's when I say thank you.
There. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And again, I never would have expected this would have been why I love being a musician, but it's just, it's amazing where life and the man upstairs will take you.
Exactly. It's super cool. You get that feeling of like all over your body, you just lighten up.
Yeah.
And that's very, very cool.
And the thing is too,
another...
music, the one thing I just had to put in there, music is so much different. Music speaks beyond the intellectual. Music speaks into the spirit. And
yes,
I mean, I did an album with a band in Guatemala. The drummer and I, the first time we met, couldn't even speak the same language. But when we were jamming, we were just so on the same page. It breaks down all barriers. I don't care, language, religion, anything. It breaks down all barriers and it unites. And because it speaks to the soul, you as a musician have the ability and the responsibility to use that correctly, because you can damage people in music by making it dark,
right?
Or you can get in there, let them know that you have been where they are, what they're fighting about, and there's hope, and so you have the ability to really speak to them and kind of implant this light that's just going to sort of radiate.
I love that. I love how you put that. It's like going to the M3 or any festival for that matter. Like you said, you don't have to, you could be from any walk of life. And when you're in that festival, you're all in there as a family. You're all there enjoying that music and touching your soul, touching your everything to it gives you those good feelings, those good goosebumps. So
I say, if you, I was just saying, either listening to our album or seeing us live, at the end of either event, I would like if the hair on your arm stood up and if you got teary-eyed. That's when I know that we've done our job.
Oh,
yes.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Teresa had a question.
So, yes, she did. Here we go. Who are some of your influences, Gordon?
Okay, I started off on guitar. So my very early influences were actually Randy Rhoads and Eddie Van Halen, Jeff.
Eddie Van Halen for sure.
And I also really loved Hendrix and what he could do with the guitar and the sounds that he could create. I started learning Zeppelin songs just because they were easy at first. I would never never say Jimmy Page is really an influence, but if I had to say my two, I would probably say Randy Rhoads and Eddie. But it's funny, later in life, like now, I love listening to guitar players like Mark Tremonti from Alter Bridge. I love Adam Dudkowitz from Killswitch Engage. I've always loved Zakk Wylde, Dimebag from Pantera. Just really good, amazing guitar players. George Lynch was a really big one for me growing up too. As far as vocalists, my number one favorite vocalist in the whole world is John Arch from Fates Warning. And I had the honor of actually meeting him when we were on tour in 2022. I'd waited 34 years to meet the man. I heard Awaken the Guardian by Fates Warning when I was 16, and it was immediately my favorite album of all time, and it still is. Because of him, he's the reason why I became a vocalist. And, it's funny because I actually got his attention a couple years back. I invited him to a show, say, hey, you got backstage, whatever you want, man, you've got it, U+1. And I not only did I get to meet my number one musical hero of all time, I got to perform for him, and I gave him some swag, and it was just that was like
Aw.
that was a major defining moment. And I think one of the coolest things is I'd messaged him one time because I told him, I said, hey, I'd love to pick your brain to see where your influence, where you get your creativity. And then I'm laying in bed this one Saturday morning, 9 o'clock, my phone's blowing up. You know how that weird Facebook ring? It's not like a regular phone ring. I'm like, who is blowing up my phone 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning? I look at, John Arch, and I like jump out of bed. And we talked for 90 minutes. And I hung up the phone, just sort of like shaking my head going, that was huge. He was the
Aw.
nicest, most awesome guy. I mean, you would never know he's who he is. But yeah, I could go off about him for a while, but he was my number one influence. They say don't meet your heroes, and I understand because I know somebody who met this hero and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
I had the most positive experience ever. But John Arch, I obviously love Bruce Dickinson. I grew up with Iron Maiden. I love Jeff Tate, grew up with Queensryche. One I'm going to cite actually is a guy who became a friend. Norman Kersnowski from a band called Deadly Blessing. This guy's range was like sarcastic. I was in high school. I was listening to their album, and I was just like, this guy is just ridiculous how good he is. And I go, it's like he's almost doing it on purpose just to mess with us. So
Aw.
funny thing, years later at a show, I was in a tribute band. He walked up to me. He knew who I was. I didn't know who he was. He told me who he was. He was already an Images fan, and he had Soul Rise. And then when he told me who he sung for, I just, my jaw hit the floor. I said, you have no idea. You're a vocal hero of mine, and you don't even know it. And,
Wow.
he and I are great friends. And, if you had told my senior year in high school self that would happen, he would just be like, are you kidding me? Again, and just the blessings that come your way, and doing what we do. And
Absolutely. And the time, the time couldn't have been any better for Jeffrey to
Exactly.
to be there. Yeah. It's like
Yep.
the universe moved all kind of things for you guys.
Yep. It's great. I know who's
That
in
is-
charge.
Yep, that's right. See, So, at what age did you realize that this is what you wanted to do in life? That I'm going to be a musician. At what point in time was that for both of you?
Birth. I've always wanted it. I don't know when I didn't want it.
When you came out, you said, "I'm going to be a musician."
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Jeff, you go, brother.
No, that's a better answer. I was going to say that for me, it was 1987, and my cousin Andy, who's not only my family but also a dear friend, who got me started in playing music. He explained to me that guitar players and bass players had a good life filled with adventure, fun, money, everything. I don't know. He was right about some of it, but I was going to say that. There was, I remember I was riding to the McDonald's with my mom one evening. I was about 12, and George Harrison's "I've Got My Mind Set on You" came on. And
oh, it's a perfect song.
Yeah, the strumming and the bass line just caught me right there. And I remember from there, it's just keep asking Mom, can I have instruments? Can I have instruments? Can you help me? And then from there, I remember I got my first Ozzy Osbourne album, and I was playing bass at that point. But it would be like, Friday night, you'd be 14, you come home from the mall, whatever it was that you were doing. And I'd be in my basement after the mall closed, everybody else is asleep. And I would be trying to imitate the guitar on those albums as best I could, even though I didn't own a guitar yet. I would just try it on my bass. And I remember I would be working on Randy Rhoads or Jakey Lee stuff, and I'd be trying to find a way through it. And it just took, for me, it was just evolutionary. I found my way in.
Yeah. Awesome, awesome. Now, do you both have any family oriented background of like musical history, like your father or your
Um,
mother or a cousin, somebody that musically inclined is what I'm trying to say.
my grandfather went to Peabody Institute, which I know was classically trained. Um, so yeah, I guess him. Nobody else.
Awesome, awesome.
I think for me, the closest that I have to, and I think the reason why my mom was so supportive of me is that she always wanted to play guitar. And I have a picture of her. She passed in 2010, but I have a picture of her holding a guitar as a little girl. And she, growing up, not a lot of money, so couldn't really get lessons. So when I expressed an interest, she kind of jumped at a chance to support me and get me into it. So
Oh, I like
Awesome.
that. That is so cool.
for me,
Yes.
that's a big deal. I always make sure I play loud enough so she can hear me.
There you go. I love that, Jeffrey. I never knew that. Absolutely.
It's going to be some
And I
proud
think,
moments for her coming up too. And I know
yes,
there's already been. So
yes. And I think your daughter's walking in your footsteps as well.
We have what she'll come up to me randomly and she'll say, "Do you want to have a jam session?" Yeah. And we come down here and we pull out whatever music happens to be around and we play it. Whatever
I love
it is.
that. Oh
And
my God.
she comes down and gets the chairs all arranged and everything. And she puts the instruments in the right place to get it into an inviting environment from a musician's junk shop. She gets it all set
Oh,
up and then she's cool like that.
oh, that's sweet. Now, does your wife play music or anything, or does she have any?
she
Does she sing?
she is supportive of me in in a very special way. She's not a musician herself. Her dad played guitar, and she's always had my back in all my musical endeavors. Always made
I
sure
love
that
that.
that I had what I needed. I remember one time an amp blew up on stage, and she drove another head up. She's always been good to me.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that too. Very cool. Very cool. Teresa's got another question. Here she is. One thing I love about IOE is you guys don't sound like anyone else. You're in a league all of your own.
that is the best thing we could hear. That is the best thing any original band can hear. Thank you, Teresa. Yeah, and I think we found that sound. We had it a little bit in some early albums, but I think it was Soul Rise when we really, really latched on to our signature sound. And it was also with that album that a couple people had actually said that to us. And the last thing we want to do is change that sound. It will evolve, and with the right players, evolve in a better way, i.e., Jeff. Now, so evolution is good, but we can't change that sound because like several people have said, I can hear the song and I know it's you guys. And I've been told I've got weird, that the rhythms are weird, the chord progressions are weird, and I won't rehash anything negative, but it was called erratic before, by a particular guitar player, and I said, call it what you want. Something's happening right because we've been told we have an original sound, and that's what you want. It's hard enough being in an original band, but if you are blessed enough to have a signature sound in some sort of way, that's great. It's like my wife said. She says, I know for the first 10 seconds of the song that it's Van Halen.
Yes.
I'll know for the first 10 seconds of the song that it's Iron Maiden. And
Yep.
just these bands that you just know. And she says, I know your songs just when it starts, whether you tell me it's something of yours or not. And
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it's the writing is unconventional, the chord progressions are unconventional, but you never, I forget who said this, but no one ever really made a dent in life by conforming with the crowd. So
That's right.
yeah,
You can
thank you so
name
much,
that
Teresa.
tune
That's
in
awesome.
2 seconds.
What's that?
I said you can name that tune in 2 seconds
Exactly.
instead of 2 notes. 2 seconds, or 1 second.
Yep.
I used to love watching that show. all these 80s shows. So
Oh, like name that tune. where they'd say
Yeah.
like, I can name that in one note, and they hit one note on the piano and they got it, you know?
Yeah, like how did what? How did you get that? Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. So back to the question. Is there anybody that you want to collaborate with that you haven't? And if anybody that you have collaborated with, and would you like to do that again?
Like somebody famous who would be, is that what you're talking about? Or just kind of in general?
In general, anybody, whoever you want. Yeah.
You know, I'd have to think about that. Well, you know, it's kind of crazy. When I met Jeff, I had a hunch. And, you know, when things started going south with our guitar player, I thought, I kept getting tapped. And I said, I got to reach out to Jeff because I think that we might have an opportunity. And I'm going to say it was a big thing for me bringing Jeff in because I knew who I was getting. I knew who I mean, I tell people I've been on stage with him twice and it just felt right. It felt,
I so love that. Oh my Lord. I just so love that.
You know, and it's kind of funny, Jeff, because, you know, Jeff, Jackie Joyce, who's the singer of Dying Breed. I've known Jackie for a long time. She did a cameo on a song off of our album, Rebuilding the Ruins. One of the best singers around here. I joke, I said, you could go and just sing the phone book a cappella and I'll be in the front row, you know, and just collaborating with her was cool. There is a really awesome singer up here, Brenda Robinson, who's in a symphonic metal band called Anatomy of the Sacred. Very Nightwish, Within Temptation, kind of like. I would love to bring her in on something too, as a guest appearance. But I've been blessed enough to have been able to collaborate with some phenomenal musicians, and I'm very thankful for that.
Awesome. How about you, Jeffrey?
I was going to say, I'm going to kind of say something similar and say the garden that I am currently walking in is so large, so rich. There are so many different places to go with what we have going on that it's going to be a very long time before I start trying to brainstorm collaborations. But you know, what's interesting is that before Gordon and I were talking about IOE work, I think that I had this idea that I needed to, and I've talked to you about this. I've talked to Teresa about this. And it's like, I really needed to get into a writing mode. I really needed to get into a mode where I was working collaboratively for something creative. And for me, that's something that I really feel is important to have for my life. As what do you want to say? Like, what are the different things you want to do in your life with the time that you're given? You know, it's limited. Yes. And one of my favorite singers in the whole world, God rest his soul, is David Crosby of Crosby, Stills, and Nash. He made all these amazing, like 5 amazing albums in the last few years of his life. He recognized the limitation on his time, and he found all of these interesting ideas and just pulled it all together. I feel like that's it's that time now where I'm at. There's rich work around and lots of work to be done. So let it continue.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yep. Who inspired you guys?
Musically, or just sort of lighting a fire under us?
You can both ways.
I think I kind of went into my influences early on, but wow. As far as you know, I'm gonna have to come back to me.
That's okay.
Do you have an answer, Jeff?
Well, so for me, when I remember back when I was first starting out learning music, you know, didn't have a whole lot of money. So we would go to the record and tape trader, you know, where you could buy the used cassettes.
Yes, I love that store. Yes.
Like $3, $4. And I remember there was a copy of Bark at the Moon for $3, and there was a copy of The Ultimate Sin for $4. And I went with Ultimate Sin because, well, it was more expensive. Must be better, right? You know,
right.
Whatever. So I got it. And I remember listening to it with my little headphones on in my cousin's car. And I'm like, I don't know I have no idea how this is done. It sounds like magical stuff. And so, I began at that moment the incredibly long, arduous process, joyful process of figuring out how that stuff works.
Oh,
And
sweet.
yeah, I'm always inspired. Of course, right behind me uh, are my Jakey Lee albums.
Oh, sweet. Yes.
Yeah, and so one of them is the Badlands album from 1989. I remember I got that at the record store, and I spent the whole summer boring my parents with it, driving around town. And
I
so
remember doing that with Bon Jovi, with mine.
yeah, it was. Although speaking of bands that you love, Lisa, I have a strange little story to tell. Okay, it's lunchtime today. I stop my work. I go down. I'm eating my lunch.
Yeah.
Sometime, I guess maybe last night, one of my favorite guitar players is Al Di Meola, who's a jazz player.
Oh,
And
okay.
so apparently he and I, even though he's probably 15 or 20 years older than me, he's got a daughter of the same age. Go figure.
Oh.
So we both
Mhm.
have 8-year-old daughters. Anyway, he posts a picture of him playing before a show for his 8-year-old daughter.
Oh.
Now, my daughter, if you look behind, there's a little award that she gave me, the Guitar Player Award hanging on the
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah.
She gave that to me like a couple days ago. And so I sent a picture to Al, and I'm like, my guitar player, or my Guitar Player Award that came from my daughter is as I don't think there any adult kudos can match it. Anyway, the reason I told you that story is because I got a love from Joe Elliott today on that comment.
Oh my lordy. Ooh.
I'm
that's
sitting there at lunch
funny.
going, Joe, I only had one love, and it was from Joe Elliott. So hey, okay.
Oh my
Can't
God.
beat that.
If you happen to talk to Joe Elliott, if you make any kind of connection, you have to bring him here. I will die.
I knew you would like that story.
I do.
Def Leppard's Hysteria album was important. I could not have made that up, and I'll send you the screenshot. It's weird.
Absolutely. I would love to see it, but I do believe you. No, has
Jeff, it's funny that you brought up. I totally forgot. Ray Gillen from Badlands is one of the greatest singers that have ever lived.
Yeah.
And just his tone, everything about him is awesome. It's funny. I think I've had same with you, man. I've just had a lot of just different vocal influences, guitar influences. As far as anyone lighting a fire, I don't know. I think I've always just had that. I think I've ran into more people who just were dragging their feet. I always was like in fifth gear with the needle buried. There's never been any other way. It's either been zero, the car is either stopped, or the engine's overheating because I'm running it too hard.
I love it.
I don't understand the meaning of the word moderation.
No slowing down. Let's go. Yep.
Yep.
All systems go.
You got it.
That's it. So has anything happened, like any crazy stories you'd like to share while you were on tour or at a show? Any kind of thing, like fun stories you'd like to share? Odd stories,
You want to go, Jeff? Do you have anything?
I only tell, I mean, I find that even the worst things that have happened at gigs, you wind up laughing about later on. They become the stuff of jokes. I remember one time I had a wedding gig, and I was told by the bass player who booked the gig that it was at a airport in Winchester, Virginia. So I've got all the PA gear in the back of my pickup. I'm driving through Winchester, Virginia. This is before MapQuest or before GPS phones.
Before all those GPS, before it used to be TomTom. Remember the little Tom?
Yeah, I didn't even have a TomTom yet. And my
ADC
buddy,
map.
The TomTom.
yeah, and my buddy Bob was. I mean, I was getting guided in, by a friend who had an internet connection. And I'm almost to the airport, and suddenly the bass player calls and goes, "Hey man, where are you?" I go, "I'm almost to the airport." He goes, "No, dude, we're not at an airport. We're on a private airstrip." And it was like on a nearby mountain. And I spun the wheel and I'm racing up the side of that mountain.
Oh my God.
We got it. There was a group of people ready to fire line the equipment in. We got it. It was a good gig.
Oh my God, you got there and it was good. Oh wow. On the strip? Wow. That's that's like, what in the world? Crazy.
That sounds kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, it does.
I had to think of mine, but yeah, I had one that was a little. Ugh. We
Uh-oh.
were on tour for Soul Rise in 2019, and we toured with Metal Church and Doro Pesh. And it was funny because they did all their sound checks first, and then we got up to do our sound check. Now we're at the Whiskey. We're playing the Whiskey in Los Angeles, and I asked one of the sound guys. I was like, "Hey, I got a wireless mic. Where should I put it?" He goes, "Put it over there with the other ones." And it was really dark in this hole, and I was like, I was trying to step, and I stepped, and I fell like about 4 feet down, and my arms went, whew, and I took out Mike Howe's wireless. I took out Doro's wireless, and I'm laying there and just cords, and this guy comes
Oh,
over, and he's just grabbing my arm and just pulling me, and I go, "Stop pulling my arm!" He's just
oh
so
shoot.
I got up, and then the other guy comes and goes, "Oh, what are we gonna do? Oh man, this isn't good." And I'm like, I'm already freaking out enough. Let's just see if it works. Let's plug it in. Apparently, there wasn't any damage. I didn't mess anything up, but I saw both of those wireless units go, and I knew who they were. And
Oh my
but
God. So, but there was no damage, but that's good. But oh my God. First of all, make sure you're safe. Nothing happened to you. Was anybody concerned except for that one?
nah. Well, here's another funny story. This is more of a this is kind of funny too. Back in the early days of Images, after the first album, we were a three-piece at the time, and we played the 8x10. If you remember back then, well, you might remember this place, the Vault. So we played the Vault, which
I
was used to
remember
be
the
called the
name.
Bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, we played that one weekend and brought a ton of people out. And then we had a headlining show the next Friday at the 8x10. And the guy who booked at the 8x10, I don't know, something was off. The first band was called the Buck Dewey Big Band. They were like, the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones,
Oh,
I mean,
oh,
they did
okay.
that. And then there was a hip hop band after them before we went on. So we're sitting in the corner, just kind of like waiting. We're looking at each other going, there's a hip hop band. Everybody's, bouncing out. We go, we're going to scare these people to death. I mean, it's just like, if you generally like to put like bands with like bands.
Right.
So we went on at midnight.
The kind
So
that
we were
blend
sitting, but we
together.
had to get there. We had to get there at like 7 to, set up. So basically 5 hours of nothing. And
Yeah.
so we went on, and the lights were so bright at the 8x10, I couldn't even see the crowd. And
Oh my
after
God.
the second, I mean, the place was packed, but then after the second song, in the middle of his solo, I kind of look out, totally empty. Just the guitar player's brother and a friend of his, the sound guy, the bartender, and the bouncer, and that's it. And
Wow.
so they shut us down. They came up, they gave us $5 because that's all we made at the door.
Oh
It was
man.
it was great. Then our drummer at the time, he was just, "Oh, I hate this. If this is the scene, I don't want anything to do with the scene. The scene's just garbage." Come on, man. You have to look at this as a funny story. I'll be telling this for 20 years, and here you are.
That's right.
Sometimes you got to play for no matter if there's 3 people or 3,000 or 300 or 30.
Exactly.
You're up there to give that show. You give it your all, and I'm sorry nobody showed, but those 3 people are.
It's happened to every one of us. Yep.
Also, it's like if you wherever you're booked, you have to make sure you're not up against like what's the other venue and whoever else is you're up against, and oh my goodness, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
So Teresa has another question here. Which artist would you like to tour with? Good
I'm going to get right to the point. Iron Maiden, because it's
Ooh.
stadium tours. We would be playing sold out stadiums, and we're very comparable.
Awesome. Awesome. How about you, Jeff?
Set and match. I don't think I could top that response. That's awesome beyond belief.
Absolutely. Now, who would you, I'm going to piggyback off of that one. Who would you like to tour with you?
As in,
Like, say, if it was your show,
yeah.
and who would you like to tour with you? So, like, if you had an opener, who would your opener be?
I'm thinking who we're qualified to. Who's
Oh, if you can't
qualified to
say, it's
open?
okay.
Who
You
are we
can't say, it's
qualified to
okay.
headline over? I guess is my question. That's a good question. I don't know that answer.
Mm. Well, if you could tour with somebody, you said Iron Maiden. There
Yeah.
was another question I had. Yeah, okay, maybe I said it opposite to the one. If you could open for some band, but that would be Iron Maiden, wouldn't it?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that would be the same question. Let's see. Let's do. I'm going to switch over to our fun segment to
Right.
get you off topic for a few minutes. So, me and Candy, usually have this running question because this is what we do. Um, and then I'll tell you afterwards. Like, I'm just going to ask if you may or may not be soda drinkers, but if you had to choose for one, either Coke or Pepsi, what would you choose?
Go.
Yeah, Lisa, you're not going to like my answer. It's Coke. Although I stopped drinking the heavy Cokes about 3 or 4 years ago because I can't drink coffee. I don't like it. So
Yeah.
I got my caffeine that way, and I'm really regretting it. So, but on a wonderful day when the sun is shining, it's got to be Coke.
Oh,
Sorry.
damn it. I lost again. It's okay. Now, I will drink Coke when there's no Pepsi. Coke is still good, but Pepsi's better to me.
Don't they kind of taste the same like when they come out of a fountain? Like if they're out of the bottle, they're radically different. But if they come out of like the soda machine in the fountain, I find that they're way more similar.
They're similar, but to me, Coca-Cola has a more syrupy taste and Pepsi has a more sweet taste. That's how I see it.
I've
Love
heard
it.
that, and there might be like a genetic thing there because that's the way Pepsi tastes to me is the syrupy thing.
That's crazy. Isn't that weird? How about you, Gordon?
Oh, Coke, but I prefer root beer over both items.
But I've been trying to drink more water and put lemon in it, and because whatever I drink has to have some type of a flavor. So yeah. But yeah, as long as it tastes good, that's okay. Yeah, I'll drink my Pepsi later. I'm just trying to limit it out to
Yeah.
Next fun question is what's on your bucket list?
You go, Jeff.
I want to see as many of the national parks as I can. So we've got this little book. We were in North Carolina. We stopped at the Wright Brothers Kitty Hawk spot, and it was super cool. And the guy in the gift shop sold me this little book where you put stamps in. So I wanted to go out to all the national parks.
Oh, that's sweet. I like
That's
that.
pretty cool.
Very cool. Gordon?
Well, it would almost happen, but touring Europe. We had a situation last year. Won't rehash that. The awesome part about it would also be to see Italy. Italy's a bucket list place.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's between that and skydiving. But I have a fear that if I've checked off all of my bucket list items and then I went skydiving, well, the chute wouldn't open.
Oh no.
So this is your last bucket list album. You're going out. Bucket list item.
That's
You're
how
going
you're
out
going to
like
go
this.
out.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord. I would be afraid if that thing didn't open. It's it. There you go. There's your bucket list and you're gone.
Oh,
Bing,
Lord,
see?
take me. I'm ready, please.
At least I went skydiving and then I'm dead. Ah!
Yep.
Oh my Lord. So the next question. If you were in a hot tub time machine, and I always say hot tub time machine because of course I relate to 80s because I love the 80s, but that's me. What would you where would you go? What you set the dial and you're going to either go forward, backwards, wherever. Where would you go?
Ooh, that's a good question. Any idea, Jeff?
I think going forward by about 5 years so I could know whether I do want to go to the future, and then back, right?
There you go. You can see what it's about.
Yeah. And then I guess backwards, like, maybe like back to, I don't know, like there must have been something kind of fun about like maybe like the not long before I was born, the late 60s, early 70s would be really, really cool to see as an adult.
Yes.
Um, and then come back in time so I can have air conditioning and internet and stuff again.
That's cool. That's cool.
That's
Absolutely.
it. Yeah, good answer. I guess I would probably have to say I love the medieval Renaissance time period. I love that music. I love,
Yeah.
that whole era.
Do you
Although
go
I
to
don't
the
know,
Renaissance a lot?
I have been. It's been many years. I don't know if I'd survive though. You've got serious armor on that probably weighs a ton.
Hot as hell.
The
Yeah.
strong survives. No electricity. Eating turkey legs.
And no
You know,
toothpaste.
what's that?
There's no toothpaste. It's not good.
Exactly. But yeah, that would probably be it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a beautiful time, but bathing was an issue.
I'm sorry, Jeffrey, what'd
Yeah.
you say?
Oh, I was just saying, I mean, it was a wonderful time in terms of style and culture, but, bathing was an issue or the lack thereof.
Exactly.
Oh, and you can just imagine the smells. You're not so good. Not so good. So let's see. What venue would you say that you just have to play? You really got to, no matter what, I want to play here. What would that be?
Yeah. I don't know if I have one. Um, it was the Whiskey because it was just that iconic place, but we were able to do that, so that was cool. Right now, I would like to place in any capacity some sort of stadium or
Ooh,
massive, like
huge.
giant center.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Take your pick.
Yeah. How about you, Jeff?
This is going to sound really weird. Sesame Street. So think about like what it means to be on Sesame Street, right? So you're,
Mhm.
you're Paul Simon, you're, one of these totally famous, singer-songwriters, and you're surrounded by Muppets who are dancing and singing to your songs, and America trusts you with its children. I mean, it might be the only spot above Madison Square Garden.
That's true. I like that. Absolutely.
That's the answer of the day right there.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, is there anything else you guys would like to share?
I've got nothing other than thank you so much. As you can tell, I rambled a
You
lot.
must be tired. You're going to sleep well tonight.
Yes, yeah, and again, yeah, really appreciate it. Lisa's awesome. Thanks for the platform.
You're welcome.
I would like to
Anytime.
plug our where to get a hold of us.
Absolutely. Plug your
We're
social-
everywhere. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Instagram account's been a little neglected, but Facebook, YouTube, we're pretty much everywhere. But what I try to tell people is go to imagesofeden.com. That's our one-stop shop website.
Okay.
It's got everything you could want. It's got news. It's got our discography. It's got a link to our online store. It's got our music videos. It's got our Q&A, our fan Q&As, history, reviews, everything. It's like you could spend a lot of time on there. So I would go there first, and it links to everywhere. So I just want
Awesome.
to plug that.
Definitely. Awesome. I will go there. Definitely. And merch. Definitely got to have merch.
Yeah, we've got. Yep.
Yeah, tank tops.
We did, but that being said, I'll hit you up afterwards about that. So
Okay. So I know what a lot of the ladies love, and it's hard to find. And when I do, some bands have it. Like I used to wear the Hammerjack shirt. Jeffrey, remember when I used to come out and it was a spaghetti strap, real skinny,
I do.
thinner than this one, the spaghetti strap. And if you can make any merchandise with the spaghetti strap, that's perfect. The less the clothing in
know.
the summer, the better, because it's hot.
Yes.
It's always I wear like tank tops in the wintertime, so it's just the way it goes, but not outside, but I mean in the house, so, but definitely the merch is perfect. We got to have merch, tank tops.
Noted.
Okay, you got
Yep.
it. I have one Teresa has a question and I have a question, the last question for the night. What advice would you give to someone that would just be starting out in the business and what would you tell them?
I've got something, but did you want to go first, Jeff?
Sure. I would just say that do not believe that the thing that you're doing right now is the end all be all necessarily. So for instance, I remember in the mid 90s, I was looking around for bands that, had the hard rock metal flavor that I'm now working with. This is really where I want to be. When the best I could do was get cover gigs playing Third Eye Blind songs in the back of, places in like 1997, and you can't see what's up in front of the road in front of you. The road that's in front, you just can't see it until you're, around the bend.
Right.
So, right. Don't stop believing that something amazing is possible.
Oh, okay. I love that. Absolutely.
The one thing that I've learned, is never forget why you first picked up an instrument or why you decided to play. It's for the love of music. And always remember that, because I will tell you this, the further it's most people's goal to make it, whatever they define that is, but the further you get into the business, the darker it gets. The more that you encounter selfishness, the more that you encounter negativity, people wanting to take advantage of you, it can easily discourage you. Don't let that change you. Don't let the business change you. Be who you are. Don't mold yourself into what somebody says they think you should be. If I had $1 for every time somebody tried to divert me away from doing an original band in the style that I wanted to do it, I wouldn't need to work a day job. I had so many people have come and said, well, you need to do it like this, or you need to do it like a, stay true to your heart. Remember why you play music. Don't ever forget that. And take advice. Listen to people who are better than you are and the advice that they give you. Take it. You're going to get criticisms. The first band album review I got, I wondered why I was even doing it. I wondered, is this something I should be doing or should I not be doing it? Don't let that discourage you. Don't let anybody discourage you. Press through it. You're going to get a lot of discouragement. You're going to get a lot of negativity, but don't listen to them. Stay true to your heart. And just, if your heart says to do this, go. Don't let anybody stop you. And I pushed through every ounce of resistance, everything, and it still comes at us hard. But now, like I say, with a lot of time, a lot of effort, and 6 releases, we are a signed international touring band. That didn't happen overnight, and it was not easy. It was brutal. But I wouldn't give it up, for the world. I mean, and also the contacts you're going to make, the friends you're going to make in the business, the experiences that you're going to have are so worth it. Take the good with the bad and just look at it as a journey. Everybody wants to make it. There's never an end. It's always like you're a ship completely always out to sea. There's never a destination. It's a journey. Love the journey because you might not ever see that destination.
Got you. Continue on that journey. I love it.
Yep. Well said.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what I've told my 13-year-old self if he was standing here right now.
I love it. Absolutely. I love
I'd
it.
say that, and you get to meet John Arch one day.
There you go.
Anyway, it's all good.
Yes. Here's Teresa's last question for the night. What are some artists you are listening to or who has your attention at the moment?
I'll be quick. I love Greta Van Fleet. We saw Greta Van Fleet at the Giants Center. It was crazy. They're either like young girls screaming at the top of their lungs or people in their 50s and 60s, and that was it. And I love their sound. The vocalist to me is one of the best vocalists out there. Josh Kiska. Yeah. Awesome band, awesome sound, definitely throwback, but they're the real deal.
Absolutely. Very, very cool. Well, thank you so much, guys, for coming to Front Row Promotions. I enjoyed every moment of tonight. It just touches my heart with everything that I've heard, and it's just amazing. And you guys are more than welcome to come back, and I want to hear more and more and more about you guys.
Awesome.
And And also feel free to post, promote anything on Front Row Promotions on my page.
Appreciate it.
I
We
just
might
have
hit
to
you up when
approve
the
it.
next album's done.
What's that?
We might hit you up when the next album's done.
You got it. You're coming
Awesome.
back. It would
Sounds
be,
great.
you know, if you want, go ahead and make that appointment now, because it's, you know, I got the books are filling up. So make that appointment now. Schedule your time now.
It's January 2026.
There you go. I'll put you in. No. You just let me know whatever date is good for you guys.
Sounds great.
Always welcome to come back.
Absolute pleasure, Lisa. Always
Yeah, thanks so
wonderful to
much, Lisa.
spend time with you.
Oh, and I love you guys being here. You're such a awesome treat. So
Awesome. You have a great night and appreciate it once again.
you're welcome. I'm going to close out the show if you want to hang on for a moment afterwards, and
Yep.
we'll talk for a few minutes. All
Absolutely.
right. So everybody, thank you so much for watching Front Row Promotions. Music in the making, music everywhere. Support that live music. Support music. Support. Main thing is support. Absolutely. Thank you guys again. Images of Eden for coming to my show. Love you guys.